Welcome to People, Power, and Politics. Hard talk, riveting interviews, community updates, in-depth analysis. That's People, Power, and Politics. We tell it to you as it is. No holds barred. You are the people, you have the power. We bring you the politics. To listen to our show, be a guest, or to advertise, visit www.pppradio.nyc. That's www.pppradio.nyc.
Today, we are honored to welcome a trailblazer to the microphone. Our guest is Judge Marva Brown, elected to the Kings County Civil Court and presiding over cases in Manhattan Civil Court. She is a respected judge, a champion for justice, and a powerful voice for equity in the legal system. As a Black woman on the bench, she brings not only deep legal insight, but lived experience to her work, and she's here to talk with us about the challenges, triumphs, and future of diversity, equality, and inclusion in the world of law. Judge Brown, welcome. It's a privilege and honor to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation this afternoon.
Thank you. So, Judge Brown, what first drew you to the legal world, and what was that journey like as a Black woman?
I was inspired to go into law by my grandmother, who was actually a correction officer for the New York City Department of Corrections, and then she moved to Westchester County Corrections. And I was raised by a family of corrections officers because my grandfather was also a correction officer, and two of my uncles were corrections officers. So I grew up always hearing about incarcerated people, and the one thing that my grandmother said to me when I was very young that has stuck with me throughout my life was, maybe you could help these people before they get to us. And she really inspired me to go into the law. She supported me in my educational journeys, made sure I had everything that I needed, sent me to private school for a couple of years when I was in elementary school, helped pay tuition at Columbia University where I went to undergrad, and signed for loans when I needed to pay for law school. So my family definitely supported me in my journey through education to get to a career in law. And being a public defender for 17 years before joining the bench, it has been, how can I say, a thankless journey at times, and riddled with a bunch of losses, but I was able to build connections with my clients and their families and really think about community and what it looks like for a person to be involved in the criminal legal system, examining why they ended up in court and how we could improve their situation so that by the time they leave the criminal legal system, they're in a better place than what they started. So that's been my mission while I was an attorney, and now that I'm on the bench, really thinking about what justice looks like and what it looks like to make our communities whole and healthy again.
And that takes me to my next question, but I just have to say, grandmas are the best. They are so amazing.
Absolutely.
So, how has your background shaped the way you see and apply the law today?
I mean, I have had personal experiences with incarcerated people. One of those uncles that I spoke about that was a correction officer in the 80s, he ended up being addicted to crack cocaine and becoming an inmate at the jail he worked at. And when my other uncle died, he came to the funeral in shackles, right? So I'm very much aware of what substance use can do to families. I have a mother who suffers from mental illness, and I know what that looks like when you don't have a supportive family in your corner, or a family that doesn't have the resources and education needed to get you the services that are going to help you to overcome those mental health challenges and really become a fully functioning member of society. So all of those personal experiences weigh in on how I not only represented clients, but now preside over cases from the bench. And so I'm just keeping an open mind, giving litigants who appear in front of me the opportunity to explain their situations. I accept reports from experts and counselors about what the needs of this person is before I make a decision so that I can make a fully informed decision. And again, really just thinking about how we can help to make a person productive in their lives so that they don't come back to court in front of me.
Judging with compassion.
Yes, definitely. And understanding and empathy, right? I feel even as a Black woman in America, having the support of my family is a level of privilege that many people don't have. I see a lot of young people who their parents and generations before them were involved in the criminal legal system, suffering from, lack of education, poverty, illness, substance use disorder. And so to say that a person should have known better, sometimes they just didn't have the guidance and support. And it was difficult being a practicing attorney, sometimes parenting clients and trying to teach them things that they should have learned in their childhood. But I fully recognize that there are people that lack the benefits and influences that I've had. So I definitely try to lead with empathy for meeting people where they are when they come in front of me so that we can give them the tools they need to move forward.
Okay, so let's look at the legal system, which has long struggled with issues of equality. How do you see the role of judges in advancing diversity and inclusion within the judiciary? Judiciary.
Yeah, I think judges have to, one, be aware of the populations that are in front of them. Um, as I said, I'm a Black woman who was raised with a level of privilege, but the majority of judges are white men who come from economically stable, if not affluent backgrounds, right? So many of them just don't know the people that are appearing in front of them. They can't look at the litigants and say, oh, I've met this person before in my life, or someone that reminded me of them, so therefore they can understand their struggle. So I think it is important for judges to take that extra step to not only know the law, but to know and understand the litigants that are appearing in front of them and what their needs are. I think judges need to make sure that if they don't know, they seek out experts, knowledge, and resources so that they can have a better understanding and not just think punitively, but think about what serving our community looks like. Yes, we have an obligation to follow the law and promote public safety, but at the same time, we have to think about how are we going to move people out of the system? And, if we know that their need is mental health based, we should be getting them mental health services. If we know the need is lack of education or underemployment, we should be working to get them connected to services that are going to get them the employment that they need. If they're sleeping on the subway, stretched out, blocking, other seats, we should be getting unhoused people connected to housing services. So diversity and inclusion from the role of the judiciary is to be educated ourselves about the needs and the availability of services that are available to us at our disposal, because we do have access to more than jail and probation.
Okay. So, what kinds of barriers do Black women still face in law, and how can the system change that?
Barriers are, the numbers of Black women who are being accepted to and graduating from law schools. I think the percentage of lawyers in this country that are Black women is very low. Black men are probably even lower, actually. And when we see attacks on education, Harvard Law School, for example, has now admitted the least number of Black students that they've admitted in the last 30 or 40 years, right? And look at the lawyers that came out of Harvard Law. That was Michelle Obama, Barack Obama,
Mhm.
our former Attorney General Eric Holder, right? So these are people that are knowledgeable and accomplished and pushing our society forward. But when now law schools as affluent of as Harvard are admitting less Black people, that means the lower tier law schools are certainly going to be admitting less people. So we really have to make sure we're holding our educational system accountable and educating lawyers and putting them out into the world so that they can use the law for the betterment of society. I think that we have to support and mentor young students that are coming up and try and make it easier, right? It's always been a struggle for Black women to accomplish things, but we've overcome, and that's with having a strong support network. No one lives this world alone, so we have to make sure that we're supporting our sisters as they go through law school, as they're studying for the bar exam, and as they're looking for work, right? Making sure that they are prepared for their interviews, they know how to interview well, and have opportunities to get a foot in the door so that they can have fulfilling legal careers.
And talking about, support for the sisters, mentorship does matter. Did you have someone who helped guide you in law school, apart from your granny providing you support? And how do you pay that forward now?
Yes, definitely. I always had internships in organizations that I was interested in working for, and I was always involved in the Black Law Students Association or the Black Students Organization at my school, the undergraduate institutions, and really took the time to seek out and connect with practicing attorneys. And they definitely took me under their wing and let me know that it wasn't going to be easy, but that they were there to support me. And so now, if I see a Black woman in my audience or a Black child in my audience in court, I tell my court officers, go speak to that person, see what they're here for. Sometimes they're students just there to observe and take notes for a class, and I welcome them up to come up to the bench to talk to me, to ask me any questions that they may have had about the proceedings that they observed. I work with community organizations and schools in Brooklyn to say, if you want to bring a class for a tour of my courthouse, you are welcome to, and I arrange it with the court staff. And I'm currently mentoring several young women who are in college and in law school who are eager to start their careers in the law. So, again, just making myself available to young people who want to do this work and letting them know that it is possible.
And that I can tell you makes a tremendous difference.
Yes. Yeah. Because
So,
if you can't see someone else in that role that looks like you can't see it
mhm,
for yourself.
that's true. So, how do you bring DEI values into your courtroom, not just in rulings, but in daily interactions, expanding on what you just said?
Yeah, I think diversity, equity, and inclusion, first and foremost, is about respect. And so I treat everyone that comes into my courtroom with the respect that, my grandmother and my mother instilled in me. Even if it's a homeless person stinking up the courtroom, I am still saying sir, ma'am, mister, and giving them the dignity that they are entitled to as human beings. And I require that of my court staff as well. If I hear a court officer or someone being derogatory or dismissive or harsh to someone who may be mentally unstable, who may be coming down from, their high and in need of the next drug dose. I'm cognizant and aware of how my staff interacts with the public, and I expect them to be professional and understanding and compassionate. And if I see that they're not, I call them out. I call them up to the bench, and I don't embarrass them, but I speak to them and let them know that we're here to represent all members of our community. So I expect that everyone will be treated with respect in my courtroom. One thing that comes up a lot now is, gender nonconforming people. So if I see someone who visually looks one way, but maybe their name on the paper is different than how they look, I ask, how do you prefer to be addressed? Because that is showing respect. I might see you as one way, but how you want to be perceived and respected as your own human being with dignity, I will do what you want to do because that is asserting a level of respect for you as who you are as a human being.
And finally, looking ahead, what gives you hope about the future of diversity in the legal profession? And what advice would you offer to the next generation of Black women in law? We need some more Judge Browns.
Well, you know what? I'm very excited because I do see the diversity that is happening, and my sisters in law, that's what I call other judges that have been elected in Brooklyn, and we're all supportive of each other. Brooklyn, I'll tell you, the Brooklyn delegation of Black women judges is strong. We go to judge school where it's all the judges in the state of New York, and Brooklyn has an amazing and outstanding number of Black women who have been elected and appointed to the bench. And so we are active in our communities, we're active in the legal profession, and we're definitely uplifting the next generation of women lawyers that are coming behind us. And so that is very exciting for me. We hold each other accountable. We invite each other to events, and we open the doors for the people that are coming behind us. So, everything is not bleak. I'm very excited by what I'm doing, what my colleagues in the law are doing, and what the next generation of female lawyers are going to do after us.
Wonderful. So, Judge Brown, thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your heart with us today. Your perspective is a reminder of how far we've come and how much further we still have to go. We appreciate your time and your commitment to justice and representation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
People, Power, and Politics. Hard talk, riveting interviews, community updates, in-depth analysis. That's People, Power, and Politics. We tell it to you as it is. No holds barred. You are the people, you have the power. We bring you the politics. To listen to our show, be a guest, or to advertise, visit www.pppradio.nyc. That's www.pppradio.nyc.